I'm your host, Aaron Dykes, on the InfoWars Nightly News. Now, we talked before about the escalating police state, and unfortunately, there's just more and more evidence of it. As we go into that, I want to remind you in our daily quote of the words of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, and that is that those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. And we turn now to our news and see that this is in fact surely happening, because new microchip knows your location to within centimeters. That's on new smartphones, a new chip they're going to be putting in there. Forget the chip on your forehead.
Regardez-moi ça. Ah, il est beau, il n'y a pas à dire. L'orgueil du Troisième Reich. Le brave sergent café au lait qui porte le petit déjeuner à ses hommes. Oh. La race des seigneurs qu'ils appellent ça. Eh ben, mon cochon.
Profond de la nuit, il ne faut jamais désespérer. Gardons notre foi intacte, inébranlable. Pour chacun de nous, la délivrance approche.
Les Français parlent aux Français. Voici notre 8e bulletin d'information. Veuillez écouter tout d'abord quelques messages personnels.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. Live from Austin, Texas, broadcasting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
The Pentagon's announcing plans to microchip troops. DARPA wants it. It's already been going on. But again, when it's all announced to the public, I won't be good for being right. I'll be a bigger kook because I was right. That's how the PSYOP works. Of course, the truth is people are waking up, and we actually fall into the PSYOP. Watson was doing it, even responding to people in denial. Those who are going to be in denial and those that run the PSYOP who give entree to them, they're just giving cowards an opportunity to not look at the facts. We know this is tyranny. We know everything happening is part of a police state takeover. And we better start reversing it and take our states back. It's just that simple. And we get the word out that we don't just have a nasty, corrupt government. We have a really wicked government. It's not a government. It is an occupation by a foreign force of criminals. Okay, we've got Matt in Washington, a police officer. David, who's Navy, listening on an iPod. We got Jesse, military, Army. We're going to go to everybody here in just a moment. We got Dan and others. Let's go to Matt, who is a police officer. What do you make of it? I mean, forced labor camps, slave camps, re-education camps for libertarians and conservatives? I mean, that's the American way, isn't it?
Well, I fall into that category, Alex, so I guess I'll be in the camp, too.
Wow. Well, I guess if they just take enough of us away to the camp, though, they think everybody will just get in line and say, okay, I love world government.
Well, I'm telling you right now, whether I'm in uniform or not, I'm going to fight them. I'm not going to that camp. So they better get prepared. I want to tell you something. I know a couple months ago, as you know, our economy is so-called collapsing, and our city is going through a financial situation. We run in the black, but we're down to the bare bones, and we had a meeting with our city administrator and assistant city administrator, and they were talking about how we needed to write more tickets to bring in more revenue, because that was the difference between getting a new patrol car or not. And I piped up and said, hey, we haven't had a new patrol car in 4 years, and we're not revenue-generating police officers, and we're not going to do that. Well, then a couple weeks later, they pulled the chief in and said, hey, we're going to give a $1,000 bonus to whoever writes the most tickets. And he said, no, we're not going to do that. So we do stick up, we do stick up and tell our administrators.
No, I know there are good police all over the no, listen, I know there are good police all over the country. That's what's been holding. Look, I've had this epiphany, and of course it's common sense, but it's so clear to me. You have a tiny criminal elite at the top who can only operate because all of us are naive about how evil they are, and then they've got all these PR rollouts for why they do things, and they're trying to get us to go along with them. But people didn't go along with torture. People aren't going along with world government. But the globalists don't care. They're just pushing. I mean, how do you think they'd try to get away with putting people in a re-education camp? I mean, that shows how radical and nuts these people are.
And, Alex, this is why we have to come together and tell them no, because when we do, they back down. It's when we don't say anything and we go along with the program, then they win. So it starts at the local level. You tell them, no, we're not going to do it. They're not going to fire all of you. We stood together as a brotherhood. I come from a department of about 15 men, and we told them no. And you know what? They're leaving us alone.
Well, that's the problem. Some of these big departments are totally federally run, and they just do whatever they want. But it is crazy. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'd just like to tell my fellow brothers and sisters out there, maybe those that are on the fence, listen, wake up. I've been a police officer for 15 years. I've listened to Alex for almost 2 years. He knows what he's talking about. Listen, we don't take people's word for it. We research it. Go out there and research it. Look at his website. Read everything that's on there, and then research it yourself. It's real. We need to stand behind this guy, and listen, we need to take back this country. Freedom. Freedom rings. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you. Look, I'm standing beside and behind everybody else, too. Look, I wish this wasn't real. I wish I wasn't the guy on air. I wish so badly that we could reverse this, but these globalists are so powerful and so rich, this is their entertainment. It's like the world is a risk board to them, and this is their fun. They play with our lives like we're little toys. And the reality is so crazy that I know why people don't want to believe it, because I can't believe it. When I have gone to countless urban warfare drills that are public, and I witnessed the military training to confiscate guns, and then I saw them do it in New Orleans, and then now I see them admitting it, and then I see people in denial. There's this long-term program to turn the military and police against us. I know, I don't believe, I know it's backfired to a certain extent, because the propaganda is so ridiculous when they get police behind closed doors and tell them the founding fathers are bad, that people go, what? So the globalists are so over the top that it may actually wake people up.
Have you been to InfoWarsShop.com lately? Express your inner patriot with these brand new InfoWars t-shirts. Say it loud with the InfoWars Bullhorn shirt, or educate the sheeple with the Bill of Rights shirt. Grope the public's mind with the TSA shirt. And with this shirt, you can let the dark side know of the Rebel Alliance's power. All available at InfoWarsShop.com.
But this is all done incrementally, this tyranny. And then they bring you to a jump point with a big event that takes place and then roll out the next level of control. And boy, is it broken down in the news today. You can see it coming into clearer and clearer view. You know, I believe in preparedness, and that's also how we finance our operation here, so it's a win-win. I did over a year of research before picking a new water filter company to promote. I just couldn't promote the other one anymore because of listener complaints and things. And I did some research, tested out a bunch of different brands, and I think ProPure, from the stats I've seen and using it in my own home and here at the office, is the best system out there, bar none. And, well, I can show PrisonPlanet.tv viewers a shot of it here. This is the Traveler. This is what we use on the RV. It's bigger than most Travelers that you see from other companies. It's beautiful stainless steel, has the stainless steel spigot. It's not plastic junk, doesn't have the bisphenol A leaching out. And if you look inside of them, by going to Infowars.com, anybody can look at it. They have the fluoride filter optional on the bottom, but on the top, it's got the gravity-fed filter impregnated with the silver inside. And it's a bigger domed filter and works a lot better than the leading competitors. So go look at the stats at Infowars.com with ProPure. And your purchases of the high-quality product also makes this show possible and allows us to hire more crew, more reporters, and put out more news and information. Because we're self-financed here. We don't have George Soros or the New World Order funding us like the mainstream globalist trader media, or NBC getting hundreds of millions of taxpayer money in bailouts. That's why they push all this anti-gun, anti-family garbage. So go to Infowars.com. We have 10% off on ProPure. We already have the lowest price anywhere for ProPure at Infowars.com. But if you add water, the promo code in, you get additional 10% off at Infowars.com. You can also call toll-free 888-253-3139. Okay, let me just shut up and go to your phone calls now. Let's go to Gerald, who's Special Forces, was Special Forces, now in the National Guard. Gerald in Arkansas. What is your take on the official Army manual for operations in the U.S. for re-education camps and slave labor? Am I anti-American for not thinking that North Korean-style government is the way to go?
Absolutely, you're not.
What is your view on this, sir?
I'm 100% against it, and when the NDAA passed on New Year's Eve, I started my own YouTube channel and started video blogging about why this is wrong and why military members need to wake up and start thinking about getting out of the service.
Break down from your perspective. I mean, they've always been getting the camps ready the last 20 years, but now they've accelerated their construction. That's on record. But now admitting their re-education camps. I mean, I've been to the drills and seen them doing this type of stuff, but this is admission. This, as one commenter said, I was saying this is an indictment. They convict themselves. And the commenter on my video I shot this morning, titled Army to Oversee Torture and Slave Labor in America, the commenter, in fact, it's still the top comment up there, said, this isn't a manual, this is a confession.
Yeah, I'm pretty amazed that they came out and so blatantly spelled out the facts that this is for American citizens as well as operations overseas. So I don't know if they're getting more overconfident or if they're somebody who's writing the manuals might be saying, well, maybe if we put it out there a little like this, maybe people will start waking up. I don't know.
Well, undoubtedly, I've had national media tell me, look, I really like what you're doing, but they'll never let me publish it if I don't attack you a little bit. And they're so arrogant and stupid, these globalists above me, that as long as I just throw a few names in and make a few jokes, they think that's effective. I know it's not. And then the article comes out and actually helps us. So I've had multiple national publications where off record they say, listen, I'm on your side. So, I mean, it's already happening. It's already happening.
Absolutely. And on that note, I want to point something out that's happening to me. I've been out of work since August of last year, and I've been applying for jobs, And with my resume and background, nobody's given me the time of day, which is leading me to think that perhaps Homeland Security is blacklisting veterans, especially ones that might be speaking out.
Well, no, they said that in the new system, you won't get a job unless Homeland Security says it's a no-fly, no-gun buy. And if we give into that and say, okay, I'll do what you say or I won't have a job, that's what the Soviets did when they'd occupy a place first. The Nazis did that, and if you give in, you lose everything. These are terrorists, and that's why they're bringing in this classical system. I mean, we have the Attorney General saying he meets with the media heads to brainwash the American people against the Second Amendment. I mean, they see themselves as brainwashers. Every action movie that I rent or buy, because I've got an old treadmill and an old DVD player, people are like, get it on Netflix. The point is, every movie I see when I jog in the garage every morning, every action movie I watch now, every one has checkpoints in them and black uniforms and has someone say, what's this? Oh, just a routine checkpoint. I keep forgetting the name of the latest movie. It's got, it's not Salt, which is really stupid. And that's got checkpoints all over it. It's got a chick who's a Marine, who's a private contractor trying to save a hostage. And then they actually kill the hostage and try to set her up. And then she's running through, you know, like Colorado and the ice. And they drive up to a checkpoint. She says, what's this? And the guy says, oh, just a routine checkpoint. I mean, folks, that is there in every movie. How creepy in America we have collaborators in the media implanting messages to acclimate everyone to checkpoints everywhere. And in all these movies, they're showing the government searching houses without warrants. And the CIA director comes out and says, we're spying on you without warrants. That's illegal on two fronts. Spying without a warrant's illegal, and the CIA domestically is illegal. But again, they're throwing it in our face. Why do you think that is, Gerald?
They're just trying to show us that they're the dominant animal and that we are the submissives and we need to accept our place.
And again, I could see being a coward and rolling over and working with the system if it was just boss hog corrupt. It's not. These are eugenicists who are spiking the food in water, and I've published, republished, and linked to the Rockefeller, the White House science czar, all of them. They're doing it. You can't make a deal with them. If I hear one more person call me and say, you have such courage, we admire you. No, I don't. No, I do not. This is self-preservation, folks. You don't make a deal with these people. It's a slow, soft kill. All we can do is all in. And before, look, if they're talking about gagging and torturing people to keep them quiet in the re-education centers, let's fight them in the larger re-education camp that is America and fight them with asymmetrical info war at the grassroots level everywhere. And let's advertise local groups to start businesses or work together to hire veterans. You know, let's do things like that. Because what they do is what happens, sir, is they psychologically tested you when you're in the military, undoubtedly. They have a file on what decisions you made. They've got algorithms on what you do. They have a file. Vets that are awake are the ultimate enemy. Vets that are Dudley do-right, will do whatever they're told, are recruited into policing. But a lot of those actually wake up later. The globalists have a big problem. They're able to loot the country of $27+ trillion in the last few years. They're able to gut things, shut down the industry. They're in control of that, but they're not in control right at the local level. You understand? They still haven't made everybody immoral yet. That's their final problem they've got. We've got to hit them at every level. Anything else?
Yes, I'm a writer as well, and I joined the Army in 1986 so I could research what it's like to be a soldier, so I could create the character that would be, you know, a soldier would pick up the book and read it and say, this guy's been there. And my publishing website is bluefalconpress.com, and I also want to point out about jobs, getting jobs in America. I have been on so many websites applying for jobs, and you have to go through a psych eval as part of your application. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, and you know they integrate it, and it's mentally ill to be moral. I appreciate your call. No, we're living in a giant re-education camp. I mean, the system admits that. They've only got it turned up, though, you know, 3 clicks on the stove. It can go all the way up to 12. And they're just turning the heat up, turning the heat up, turning the heat up, turning the heat up. Man, it's bad. Let's go to Jesse in New Orleans, former U.S. Army, to give us his take on this. Go ahead. Hello, Jesse. Okay, Jesse's away from his phone. Thank you, Jesse. Let's go to David, who is Navy, listening on an iPad or iPod. Go ahead, you're on the air.
How you doing, Alex? Great to be on. I'm really fired up out there. I could tell you now, the military really appreciate what you're doing for us.
Well, thank you. What's your view on America secretly trying to adopt, the people that have hijacked America, a North Korean model?
I'm disgusted with it, and I can tell you this: it really boggles my mind with what was coming out with Breitbart and the whole underground weather group and how they were. This was their plan. This was their plan. And
that's what Breitbart was going to come out with, was Obama at meetings talking about re-education. He dies, and they release some flimsy thing a few weeks later, nothing to do with what he said, and now the coroner's dead. I mean, how obvious does this have to get?
Being active duty, there's only you obviously know that there's some stuff I can't say, but it's mind blowing. It really is. People really need to start opening their eyes, see what's going on.
What you're saying is what we're talking about is accurate from what you've seen.
It's absolutely accurate, and you know something. There, like you say, the minority is the difference. It's never the majority, no matter where it is. What I would really like to see is somebody. See, I will go back and I'll do the research on myself, on my own, and see where the links are. But I think somebody's got to link everything from the Rothschilds and Waterloo all the way up to what we're seeing right now. So the average person that doesn't want to go out and do the research can just see it all in line, how it's...
Yeah, we need to produce like a 10-minute graphical, animated... In fact, I was just thinking about that this weekend. And starting the piece out showing a risk set and saying, people play this as children or in college, but there's a real game for world government, and break down how the bankers have done it. And again, it's not just like they want to conquer us and then have a civilization. They want to kill everybody is what's horrible. I mean, once they get their world government in place, God, Katie bar the door.
Exactly.
Well, obviously you can't talk about classified stuff, but... I mean, now that it's public, have you seen similar manuals to this for re-education camps in America?
Personally, have not seen it, but what really, I wonder why no other, like Drudge usually will cover almost anything you have. I wonder why it's not. This is big news. This really should be on every major news network out there. I'm pretty surprised that Drudge hasn't linked it yet.
Well, again, nobody's perfect. We make mistakes sometimes, and something this shocking, even though it is triplicate confirmed with the whole background information, I'll guarantee you Drudge is probably waiting with something like this until so-called mainstream media covers it. And you notice they're not. I mean, they didn't cover the NDAA the first few weeks we were running around freaking out. Drudge did cover that. And then they said, no, it's not for citizens. And they went, oh, it is for citizens, but Obama's not going to sign it. I mean, people didn't believe it the first few days when Obama came out and said Congress isn't over war anymore. Drudge did cover that, but yeah, we'll see what happens. God bless you, sir. I appreciate your call. Let's talk to Rudy in Washington, D.C., Marine Corps. What do you make of re-education camps? I mean, North Korea is not so bad. Maybe George Washington would have loved Kim Jong-il, huh?
No, exactly. I think it's unbelievable. And as far as here in D.C., from what I've seen, haven't seen anything, too close to re-education camps. But we have been doing a lot of riot control training, stuff like that. And yeah, I'm just calling for support. I want you to know that I'm trying to get the news out here with the Marines here. I'm trying to get the word out, and I'm a big fan of you. There's a guy named Hal Lindsey. He has a lot of good information, and Ron Paul, huge supporter of Ron Paul.
How many Marines you talk to are somewhat awake?
From not tons, but there are guys like me who are out there spreading the word. And
well, that's good news. Look, to break down how they're going to do this, the economy keeps collapsing. They're basically moving towards the poorhouse model that England had, where they're going to lock up the homeless people. This is already happening, where they won't let you sleep or camp anywhere, but then they lock you up at night in facilities. Then there's crime. So then there's low-security prison areas. Then there's areas for political dissidents. That's what this breaks down. The regular military just does riot control, and then during that hysteria, political dissidents get picked up who are blamed for it. They're loaded on the trucks and taken to the facilities. And then it's specialized people. Who do you think the Army and Marine Corps hired to run prison camps? They'd have regular Marines and Army on the outside, but in the inner dungeons, they would hire disgraced federal and state prison guards as contractors, or they would hire them and get them into the military and grease the skids for them. And that's who they hire. That's who they want. So, see, that's how this compartmentalization works.
See, I'm a low-down guy, so, you know, I'm not up there. I'm not too high in the ranks, so, I mean, I wouldn't know a ton, but here low down in the enlisted field, I got guys, you know, like I said, I'm getting the word out there. And there are some guys, and, you know, at first they'll start to, they kind of just stay away from it because, I don't know, they have other things on their mind, like, you know, going out partying, drinking, and stuff like that. But, you know, I kind of feel like it's almost scary to them. So it's so scary, they don't want to believe it, and they kind of just distance themselves from it. But when they really start learning about it, and you really start feeding them the information, it starts making sense. They start to, hey, you know, they start getting a little interested. They start listening. And
well, here's the deal. History is scary. And if you look what the founders talked about, they went through all of this as well. They had re-education camps. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. It's, yeah, I was just saying that, you know, once it's all about really getting that information to them, they got to read it for themselves is the thing, you know.
Well, that's right, and we've got to counter all this so that as it gets phased in to your level, people have already heard about it, and instead of accepting it, they know it's bad, see? That's why we're holding this thing back. Infowars.com, the listeners of this show, the activists out there, we're doing amazing things together. God bless you. I appreciate your call. Okay, we got Dan, and we've got many, many others that are patiently holding, and I got a bunch of other news, and Catherine Albrecht.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
And you know why the globalists want to use mercenaries. You know why they want to use foreign troops. It's because they are going to have trouble getting our police and military to carry out these activities. That's why the feds are creating all these new bureaucracies to harass and fine and fee people, and they're going into organic food stores with guns drawn. It's all part of implying that the people are bad and the system is good. Think about how many times I told you there was a plan to microchip U.S. military personnel. And now that's in the news today. In fact, guys, I had all those articles yesterday. Will you reprint them and put them in the Catherine Albrecht bio for me ahead of her joining us? Because I may have one for her, but I don't see one here. And I know she was set up last minute, but I probably need to get that. I mean, I know there's all this world news, and I've been spending most of the time, the last 3-4 shows, on the prison camp situation. Because here it is admitting that these emergency centers are for re-education of the American people. I mean, that's like them digging up bodies in your next-door neighbor's backyard. It's a big deal. And, again, the story is extremely viral on the web, but I could care less about that just so InfoWars gets a bunch of traffic, and at least it's waking up some people. But we need to punch this out. The reason they don't want this to break, and the reason the system's fighting to keep this from becoming a big news story, and the reason we're going to keep beating the drum to make sure it does break through is because it's going to be a big story. I mean, this is going to wake a lot of people up if we have a national debate about re-education camps and slave labor in Army manuals for U.S. citizens. I know why PSYOPs hit us day one saying it wasn't real. I understand. Wow, look at this headline. Revealed, U.S. secretly releasing top Taliban insurgents in exchange for peace pledges. That's what they tell them. They really retrain them and send them to other countries like Syria. And again, I think of the general public, how not even ignorant, just how unawake they are. When I hear national news this weekend on XM. I was listening to Fox, CNN, all of it, quite a bit when I was driving. And it was always the same. Assad's bad. Well, the ceasefire isn't doing well. They would imply he'd broken it and then admit that, well, there are government buildings getting blown up. Yeah, that's that bad Assad. Al-Qaeda, on record, real Al-Qaeda, is in there, Western-backed, blowing stuff up to break the ceasefire so the UN can come in and take over the country, just like they did Libya. And it's such a crime that's being committed. Let's go to Dan in Georgia. Got about a minute and a half before we got a break. Go ahead, Dan, Navy. What's your view on all this?
I will not go to a retraining camp. It's just not something I'm going to do. I've made my peace with the Lord, and I will fight when the time comes.
Well, that's because you're a terrorist. I mean, how dare you not want to go to a re-education camp? They're good in North Korea.
Well, the chances of coming out alive in one piece, not very good for me, people like me.
You don't want to be in there with about 100 TSA guys having their way with you? That doesn't sound fun?
No, because I get firsthand information from a TSA friend, and there's a lot going on out there that we never hear about. And
oh, really? Tell me what, because there's a couple different types. There's ones that just want the paycheck, but then there's the manager types who keep getting caught in every crime you can imagine: drug dealing, child molesting, raping, murder. I mean, and now that, oh, by the way, it's admitted, they don't even do a background check now. It's like, hey, felons, come on. Stalin did it. Why not? 7-fold increase in cancer of the TSA workers. And so it created an uproar, huh, when they got those messages?
Well, yes, they had a lot of people that have gotten sick and disappeared, and a lot of them did get cancer that they know of. But
well, let me stop you right there. That's why Austin, they want to squeeze people. They're scanning everybody in Austin. They're being particularly mean because they know that's what the legislatures are, and because they fought them. Literally, the feds are showing us. But it doesn't matter. Those are all walking dead. So go ahead and laugh at us. You're all dead. Your bosses are going to radiate you. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your friend.
Well, he's a good guy, and he feeds me information. Like just the other week, there was 25 Chilean soldiers come through the airport wearing civilian clothes, and they had to call him because their rifles were not locked. They didn't even have a key to lock their rifles up, and he had to go and try to find a way to lock their rifles.
That's right. Foreigners are allowed to have guns. Citizens are scum. Again, in the new America, the new re-education camp America, we're the bad guys. Anybody else is good.
And he feels that American people just aren't going to wake up, but we still got hope.
Well, I bash the TSA a lot because of the leadership of it and everything. But again, despite all the things I say about them, half the time they go, listen, we want to get, control of the union and not have to do this. And we know it's bad. And I'm like, well, you better quit. And they're like, I need the job. But then every time I refuse the scanner, they send over the manager. And that's always the thug going, Jones, you troublemaker. And I look at the guy and I go, you're actually trying to intimidate me? You're not embarrassed to act like this? You're not intimidating. It's really weird. I mean, these people are scum. Can you imagine wanting an authority job so you could swing your weight around on people? Can you imagine how pathetic those people must be?
I'm not cut out like that myself, but I'm not going to the reorganization, retraining camps. In fact, I'm loading magazines now, these 100-round drums, just so that I'll be ready when the time comes. And I've hooked up with some Green Berets. And they know what's going down. And I found myself sitting at a Cracker Barrel restaurant with 3 Green Berets and 3 SWAT team trainers. And I was a low man on the totem pole.
Oh, and you say they're aware of what's going on?
They are aware, and they are preparing. And I've known this one Green Beret most of my life. That's why I'm part of their group now. But they are very aware. In fact, I remember seeing him bring home books about the continuity of government and the building of nation building. And they were classified as restricted, highly restricted. I didn't get to do anything but thumb through them, nothing but writing, but he had to sign for each and every book.
Yeah, it's bad news. Basically, it's money-changing, fractional reserve banking fraud families run the whole planet. They're mopping up the final countries. They want to mop up freedom in America, and they're getting checkmated because our forebears gave us the liberties. They fought for the liberties and put them in place. So it's a time bomb for the New World Order. Sick of the globalists, eugenicists, control freaks adding poison to your water and laughing as you get sick and die? Start purifying your water with ProPure. My friends, I've done a lot of research, and the best gravity filter out there, bar none, is ProPure. And it's available discounted at Infowars.com. Its filters are silver impregnated to prevent bacterial growth. There's no priming required. It's NSF 42 certified. Optional fluoride filters can reduce fluoride up to 95%. Easy to set up and use. Doesn't require electricity. Purify water from lakes, streams, ponds, and wells. This filter system leaves in beneficial minerals, which is key. Save money by not buying bottled water and avoid BPA that leaches from the plastic. ProPure is the best gravity-fed filter out there. It's what my family uses. Infowars.com already has the lowest price on ProPure. But if you add the promo code WATER at checkout, you get an additional 10% off at Infowars.com. You can also call to order 888-253-3139. We have a wonderful planet, a wonderful country. There are good people all across this world. The good people outnumber the bad people. But if you watch the news, everything is childlike. Everything is done in a joking way, except for when they get real serious and talk to you like you're a child and say the government wants to keep you safe. Well, what is the government? It's not the country. And when the government goes bad, you get tyranny. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. Thomas Jefferson said that. George Washington said similar things. And this is really common sense that we're talking about here, my friends. This is common sense. And it's time to warn everyone you know and say no to the tyranny. I mean, I remember, just to show how our State Department has changed, because it's been corrupt for a long time, but a decade or so ago, the State Department put out reports about China putting baby parts in cosmetics and selling political dissidents' organs. And then a few years later, they put out a piece debunking conspiracy theories with no facts and said that it was a conspiracy theory that China sold political dissidents' organs or used baby parts for different medicines and cosmetics. Not mentioning that the State Department previously had talked about it. I mean, the State Department doesn't criticize Chinese human rights abuses on any front now to speak of. And now China uses us as the model, saying we're going to pass our own NDAA to secretly arrest citizens. We're going to do all of this, and it's no big deal. And they said because America did it. Now, let me show you another article, then we're going to go to our guest. Thousands of pills, 17,000 to be exact, filled with powdered human baby flesh discovered by customs officials in South Korea. And this is just one shipment. The pills are very popular. Women think it makes them beautiful. Many of the top cosmetic companies, this came out many years ago, in France, are getting it from babies that have been killed in China. But folks, most of the vaccines you take are grown on dead fetal tissue. I mean, and again, I'd cover this and be called a conspiracy theorist because people couldn't believe this was happening. They just say, oh, you know what? You're making it up. You're making it up. It's not real. You're making it up. Our government would never do something like that. Well, all these governments are doing it. I mean, I just read where human rights aid from England is being used to forcibly sterilize people in India. All of this is giant covert operations going on domestically. Now, again, I heard this last year and didn't believe it and went and looked it up, and sure enough, it was true. And then earlier this year, was it in January, a federal court ruled that shareholders aren't allowed to be involved in the decisions or allowed to know exactly what they're doing with the baby parts in Pepsi. But one of our listeners heard me mention this at the first of the show and has made a graphic. It's now posted at Infowars.com on the front page if you want to see it. It says, it shows a Pepsi bottle with a fetus being dropped down on top of it, imitating some of their real ads. And it says, now with dead fetus cells. Refresh your world with dead fetus cells for the flavoring. Well, industries want to take a byproduct and make it profitable. And you got millions of abortions a year here. You got tens of millions in China. I mean, the number's astronomical. And so they want to do something with it. And so now you've got White House advisors and others and top bioethicists coming out and saying babies are like mackerel. That's a quote by Peter Singer. Let's kill them up to age 3. And then the big bioethicist board comes out and says, you know what? Since, you know, the kids, most of them are going to be born autistic or mentally retarded from all the stuff we're doing to them, let's just start killing them. From 1 in 25,000 to 1 in 58, to they're talking in 4 to 5 years, 1 out of 9 to 10, and then a few years after that it'll be every 1 out of 3. And they're like, everything's fine, everything's good, the government loves you, take some more shots.